Imagine this box were made out of notions and ideas, of concepts and imaginings. That is, no substance, but thoughts alone. What do you suppose could be found in there, trapped by mere ideas, unable to escape? Well, if you believe in religion or even science, here's what's trapped inside. The Essence of Reality explores how the psyche which you are creates the reality you encounter. Bonjour, you found the Essence of Reality. We explore consciousness here, the nature of your own existence, as in how life actually works. Common ideas, science and religion simply don't describe experienced reality. Worse, if you believe in them, they actually hide life's real flow. You create the experienced reality that you encounter. No God does, no external power source does. You do. If you want to see how that works, listen with an open mind and hey, come on back again because we sure have a lot to cover. This issue looks at consciousness with a focus on the thought box caused by various belief structures. What's a thought box? It's a conceptual chamber, a strong box of restricted thinking that certain belief systems create, making it very, very difficult for you to get out of, or even to consider leaving. The general impression is that understanding life, that is, understanding how reality works, involves something of a multiple choice question. Option A would be religion, likely Christianity in Western thinking, maybe Islam, where B is certainly science. Some would check both of those boxes, although if closely examined, you would find that two are mutually exclusive. Of course, most don't examine closely. They just take the ideas they were handed during naive childhood and go with them. Anyway, C would be, let's say, some Eastern mystical viewpoint, Buddhism, Taoism, perhaps some flavor of yoga. Option D might feature old notions like luck and fortune, maybe fate or even chance. Those ideas are often selected without any evaluation as they're woven into our standard thinking and actually into language to some degree. For some of us, though, who do question things, the most applicable, most appropriate, most accurate answer is the one at the bottom. Option E, that nearly invisible one most people never regard. None of the above. The major problem in reading down to letter E is the arrogant exclusivity of options A and B. If you buy into either of them, science or religion, finding your way out is tenuous and tricky. That's because both Christianity and science include tenets that stop you dead in your tracks from even questioning their validity. In the Essence of Reality, though, we don't have any such limitations. Tom Nair here, exploring consciousness. Insights here add to my website, my books, and hundreds of talks I've given to open-minded groups. From a mystic experience years ago, through my long inner journey, I've come to see the oneness of things. You are connected to life events and relationships, not separate and apart like science and religion imply. Aware of that connection, you can improve real life in all ways by finding and changing inner roots to outer problems. I call this clear awareness, bypassing beliefs to clearly see how life works. Understand this, beliefs are artificial mind constructs, not valid recognition of what's happening in reality. Once you've accepted a set of beliefs, regardless of what they are, your mind will wrap its interpretation around them. Whatever they are, whatever the beliefs, they will seem to be true. Their synthetic constructs will inhibit your perception, distort it invariably to confirm their own validity. The difficulty is, most of your beliefs were absorbed during naive childhood. They become etched into your subconscious state of info, carved into your self-image and worldview. It takes a particularly open mind to actually be able to question its own petrified beliefs. I am presuming you have that open mind. Watching these EoR videos would be difficult without it. Many issues in this series look in depth at options A through D. We explore many religions, Christianity in most depth, look at science and its sets of rules. We illustrate the values and shortcomings of Eastern religions and other philosophical statements like holistic health, alternate healing techniques. Many of those alternate views of reality, though, don't feature rigid inhibitions to regarding different ideas like Christianity and science do. Luck, for example, isn't really a function of this reality, but the common culturally shared belief in luck doesn't threaten you with bad luck if you choose to stop believing in it. By comparison, those two long-standing columns of Western thinking, Christianity, stemming from 2 millennia ago, science from about 1600, both vigorously prohibit its adherents thinking outside their own thought boxes. Christianity, like all religions, deems itself the only valid explanation. Wars have been fought over interpretations of orthodox tenets. People strung up, tortured, and burned at the stake for questioning standard Christian doctrine and dogma. The thought box of Christianity is woven tightly into its archaic tenets. If you doubt or question what the church tells you, that vengeful old God of Christianity, God with the capital G, will punish you. Big-time punishment, hellfire and damnation lasting for eternity. Pretty silly, particularly when that God doesn't exist and never did. But that line is amazingly effective for fearful and ignorant folk who have been programmed since childhood to believe that unending punishment awaits the non-believer on Judgment Day. So, in Christianity, the very act of questioning is forbidden. Doubt of sanctimonious, albeit phony, truth has long been strongly discouraged by that dedicated priesthood that has grown up around Christian tenets. That's not surprising, of course, because it doesn't take much effort to question away all of the Christian declarations. Christianity, you see, is built on myth and lore, none of which actually reflects how reality works. When you start to question one thing, then another, pretty soon you throw the whole religion out the door. And if you, along with many others, do that, the priests and preachers of the world are out of jobs. They would actually have to go do something functional and profitable to survive, not just live off the tithes and offerings of chumps. So Christianity has guarded its exclusivity for ages. It really doesn't like when what they call laymen actually question their expertise. Hence, the locked and sealed thought box. Islam, by the way, creates a much tougher thought box. Apostates who leave the fold just think for themselves and conclude that Islam isn't believable. The remedy for that, according to surahs in the Quran and numerous dictates from the Hadith, both, is death. Now, that's a bit more immediate than eternal damnation, wouldn't you say? Science isn't quite so aggressive about its favored definitions. The realm of science won't claim to send you to eternal torture for questioning its very tenets, and it doesn't suggest death for abandoning empiricism. But it surely won't consider your point of view if you try to explain that their whole model is invalid. In the scientific paradigm, only the real universe is considered valid and extant. No credence is allowed for intangible realms of thought and feeling, spiritual existence, or other metaphysical concepts. With only the real world considered to be significant, movement among particles and bodies and interactive forces, that becomes key, and all causality is attributed to real-world sources and forces. To be scientifically valid, any proposed idea must be formulated into a hypothesis, a theory, and tested to see if it's verifiable. If it repeatedly passes the test and can be replicated by others, it's considered scientifically sound. The problem here is that life phenomena that can't be tested are dumped into that netherworld in science, basically equivalent to things tested and found to be false. To the scientist, if it isn't scientifically proven, it's considered false or unworthy of consideration. Thus, science, very much like religion, creates its own little artificial, imagined realm of being, its very own thought box, locked and sealed by artificial definitions. Christianity imagines a God and imbues him with characteristics. It makes up stories to suit, bending ancient writings to fit the fantasy, and it doesn't allow anyone to question. Science, similarly, imagines rules and only considers aspects of reality that fit those rules. It creates explanations to suit, bending theories and propositions to fit the fantasy, and it doesn't allow anyone to question. Both create thought boxes, rigid chambers formed of ideas they deem exclusive, and anyone who looks outside those boxes is disregarded, if not damned to hell. In reality, life is a subjective experience, not the objective one science imagines, but it's driven by the individual, the self, that experiences its flow of events and relationships, not by some aloof deity. Christianity, frozen into its own fantasies, will never see the personal inner-outer connection that goes on in real life, even though its chief idol, Jesus of Nazareth, tried to illustrate just that connection, the kingdom within. Science can't see it either, affixed to a view that only looks outward. Now, what do you think? Does option E, none of the above, look a bit more enticing? It should. Any set of structured beliefs creates some thought box. The more you believe it, the more inhibiting it is to looking outside its own declared definitions. But only in looking outside standard thinking will you find your real self. More to ponder. Come back, huh? The general impression is that understanding life involves something of a multiple choice question. Option A would be religion. Option B is certainly science. C would be, let's say, some Eastern mystical viewpoint, Buddhism, Taoism. Option D might feature old notions like luck and fortune. The most applicable, most appropriate, most accurate answer is option E, none of the above. Once you've accepted a set of beliefs, your mind will wrap its interpretation around them. Whatever they are, whatever the beliefs, they will seem true. The thought box of Christianity is woven tightly into its archaic tenets. If you doubt or question what the church tells you, that vengeful old God of Christianity will punish you. That line is amazingly effective for fearful and ignorant people who have been programmed since childhood to believe that unending punishment awaits the non-believer. In Christianity, the very act of questioning is forbidden. Islam, by the way, creates a much tougher thought box. Apostates who leave the fold, the remedy for that is death. Science, very much like religion, creates its own little artificial, imagined realm of being, its very own thought box, locked and sealed by artificial definitions. What's a thought box? It's a conceptual chamber, a strong box of restricted thinking that certain belief systems create, making it very, very difficult for you to get out of. Does option E, none of the above, look a bit more enticing? It should. Any set of structured beliefs creates some thought box.